Hey everyone, your second favorite Canadian here, as I don't claim to be sexier than Keanu Reeves. And today we're going to be looking at weapon modding by comparing these two M4s. One of them is mostly stock and the other is a meta build. And then we're going to take what we learn and translate that to the rest of the gun systems in Escape from Tarkov. I tested both of these M4s in the shooting range and in raid to see if the meta build is worth nearly 6 times the price over the base M4. But first, let me talk a little bit about the 3 most important weapon stats when you're weapon modding, and that is ergonomics, your vertical recoil, and your horizontal recoil. The ergonomics of your weapon will affect its ADS speed, or your aim down sight speed. That's the main purpose for having ergonomics. And another secondary thing it does is reduce the volume that you make when you manage your weapon, like ADSing, because that makes like an audible noise. However, that side of this stat is pretty negligible. As for recoil, it's pretty simple. Horizontal recoil controls how much your weapon bobs left and right while shooting, and vertical recoil is simply how much your weapon bobs up and down while shooting. Now, when it came to the testing in the firing range, I can't say I was surprised, but honestly more just disappointed. The meta M4 felt like a laser beam, whereas the mostly stock one was uncontrollable and barely hit its target. Look again at these shots in slow motion. At one point, the cheap M4 even started shooting at the roof, and yes, I am trying to compensate for the recoil. However, the semi-auto test kind of revived my soul a little bit. The meta M4 definitely felt more controllable, but the cheap M4 handled itself pretty well and was pretty accurate too. Yes, the meta M4 definitely had better accuracy, but both of these M4s routinely hit almost all of their shots on target. So what do these findings say about the relationship between recoil, ergonomics, and weapon modding? It seems like reducing your gun's recoil through weapon modding affects your gun's full auto fire more than it does the semi-auto fire. I actually opted to use the cheap M4 on semi-automatic mode almost exclusively because I did not want to have to deal with the wicked recoil on fully automatic. This is actually a big problem for Tarkov and a reason why so many players consider Tarkov's PvP to be RNG. Once you start shooting, Tarkov's auto recoil compensation will start to kick in and your shooting will eventually level out. Once this happens, your sight just starts to bounce in random directions and you can't really hit exactly what you're trying to shoot at. This is a problem because think about all the new players who come to the game. They grab an M4, they maybe put a hollow sight on it, a suppressor, and they go to full auto. Well, they're probably not going to hit anything farther than 10 meters because of the ridiculous recoil. Not because they're bad, because, well, look at it. It's so bad. And before you ask, in that clip, I was crouched in the firing range with my aim steadied, and that was the best possible recoil I could get. All in all, in the case of the M4, I would say, honestly, the meta M4 is not really worth it. Paying almost 800k for this thing, I mean, it definitely shoots well if you have it, but it is not worth 800k when oftentimes one bullet from nowhere is what kills you. The reason you may see a lot of people use these guns is because they're often at a point where they have basically unlimited money, so you might as well buy the best possible gear you can use. If you are a new player and you are looking to just enter every raid and shoot full auto, then there are some options for you at a margin of the price. Guns like the UMP, the MP5, the MP7, those are guns that have next to no recoil or very little and manage to keep the cost down. For example, here is me shooting a completely stock UMP just with the sight on it, the same one with the M4s, and you'll notice that the recoil was not that bad and the target even looks pretty good considering there's only a 25 round magazine for this gun. Oh, and by the way, this only cost me 30,000 rubles. A big difference. If you are looking for some range, you'd be better off choosing a sniper rifle or a marksman rifle, the SR25 being my favorite, or just using an assault rifle but on semi-auto. That is, unless you want to pay a ridiculous price to make your full auto recoil bearable downrange, as most meta builds that have full auto accuracy at range is gonna cost you a lot of money. And when I say meta builds, I'm mostly referring to guns that have good, high damage, armor penetrating rounds. Shooting these types of ammo at full auto will basically delete any PMC. Although I do want to say, weapon modding is not completely useless. There are 3 specific attachments that do give massive advantages in game. Suppressors are an extremely valuable tool to have, and they greatly reduce the distance at which your gunshots can be heard. In my opinion, suppressors are always worth it to put at the end of your barrel if you can afford it. The next attachment I always recommend is quite simply a sight. A sight has infinite value, and a bunch of people have their own preferences on exactly which sight they want to use, and this only gets more emphasized when you pick up things like scopes. Anything that gives you better visibility will certainly help you in raid, and that's why I use custom sights even on the stock M4. And the last attachment I would definitely recommend is a laser. A laser makes your weapon much more accurate when hip firing and gives you a very easy indicator where you're pointing, to the extent where you could be pretty pinpoint accurate with a laser at a good distance. In this clip right now, I use my laser to kill that first scav pretty easily and then shoot this player scav from a decently far away position pretty accurately without even having to aim. Hopefully you learned a little during this video and I helped you maybe plan out your next loadout. However, if you're still struggling in Tarkov, I made this video to help you out and it just might make you smile. See you in the next one.